On tonight's episode of Dolphins After Dark, myself, and I, along with Neal Driscoll, Brittney, and Jennifer, we will discuss how the Miami Dolphins are expected to revamp their contract offer for Tua Tagovailoa. That's what Jeremy Fowler is reporting. Also, who takes blame if the 2024 Miami Dolphins do not live up to expectations? We'll also talk future extensions and the offensive line. So do me the favor, smash the like button, subscribe if you're new, and as always, let's get into this.
Touchdown! Got it! You have got to be kidding me. Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score! Field down the near side, man open, touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. He's got it over the touchdown again! Touchdown!
Beautiful day to be a Dolphins fan. Let's go! What is good, Fin Nation? What
What happened?
There you go.
There you go.
I clicked the wrong setup. Anyways, what's good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. We're back here for another one, and I am joined by the crew. And Neal is back, so we're sans Anthony tonight. Well, we could talk about our preparedness, but we won't get into that. I hope everyone is having a fantastic weekend. It's been an absolute wild ride on social media, Dolphin social media, the last 48 hours. Man, it's been quite the forte. So how are you guys doing tonight? How you doing, Brittney? How you doing, Jen? How you doing, Neal?
I am physically here, but I'm mentally still in London at the Air
Here we
Store.
go. I knew you'd get it in no matter what. I knew it was coming in no matter what.
You know.
I respect your showing up, even if you're just a vessel. Oh, there I am again.
Oh, you're Neal again.
Hey,
I think Neal was having audio issues,
I'm Neal
so
Driscoll.
he had to jump out, probably come back in.
Okay. I'm doing great. There
We're
are
prepared bunch over here. Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
there's a
That was. Oh, you're Anthony. Look at that.
Oh yay! Look at that.
We didn't think you'd show up that one night. You ended up showing up. All right, here he is again, and his sound works. And you're Neal. We're all taking turns.
No,
And
I'm here. Sorry about that.
just let me be
There
Neal.
we go.
I like this.
Yeah.
All right, take two. Jen, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. The sky is yellow, and last time it was like that, we had a tornado. So if everything just shuts off, hopefully I'm stuck under a house somewhere dreaming and of Oz or whatever. But I get out.
Okay, I was gonna say I think the witch ended up under the house and not.
Oh, you know what? You're right, Dorothy. You mean?
Yeah,
Dorothy.
Dorothy. I'm out here calling her Wendy like she's serving burgers. I don't know. My bad. But if you do disappear and the clouds are the way they are, I will play Coldplay Yellow in honor of you. Okay.
Thank you.
It was all yellow. Neal, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, and I love when there's a tornado. Everyone's like, "Stay calm and head to the basement." But the sound your phone makes sounds like the world's ending, right?
Yeah, terrifying.
We
actually had
coming.
Yeah, we actually a month ago had legit tornadoes here in Maryland, which you don't get to see every day. Like ones that you could see and did some damage, and it was crazy. We were 3 or 4 times within a 2-hour period of time. We had to go to the basement, and when you got little kids and stuff, they're all like, "Oh my God, are we going to be okay?" It's one of those things. And I'm like, Yeah, I'm still upstairs, like doing dishes and all that good stuff. But no, everything's good, man. The lull of the off season is upon us.
Ugh,
It's been
we're
slow,
almost to
man.
the finish line.
The only good news I think has been the Calais Campbell deal was awesome, but other than that, I think we're all waiting on the same thing.
Yep.
Before we get into everything here, I have something to address. I'll get to your donation hammer in a second. Skylar did not almost win us a playoff game. I don't know what you're on. I don't know what in the world you're talking about. All right. Skylar in that game, I mean, this is what he was 18 of 45 for 40%, 220 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions. He averaged 4.9 yards per pass. He had a passer rating of 44.7 and a QBR of 23.3. No, he did not almost win us that game. I don't know what you guys are talking about with this. All right. Tua had a 51.3 completion percentage, didn't turn the ball over twice, averaged more yards per pass. All right. Had a better passer rating, and Tua was not good at all against Kansas City. But if you look at the numbers and you look at it, he was better. So no, okay, no, that was a Zach Skylar interception return for a touchdown. Jason Sanders scored more points than Skylar Thompson. Okay, so I don't know what game you were watching, but maybe get your eyes checked. Maybe read a couple football for dummy books and learn ball. I don't know what you got to do, but that is not true at all.
Cedric had a good game that game.
Yeah, Jalen Waddle should have had a better game. He did have a key drop, but even still, I mean, let's when you look at how Tua played Buffalo in those 2 games in 2022 before we played them in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Okay. We beat them the first game, and the second game, he was arguably the best player on the field when we lost in Buffalo. If it wasn't for a Tyreek Hill, Trent Sherfield drop on the same drive, or Josh Boyer allowing his defense, allowing the Buffalo offense to convert a 3rd and 17 and then score before the end of the half, we win that game. So, and that was after everyone told us Tua couldn't play in the snow or in the cold weather, and Tua was arguably the best player on the field that day. So, you know what? If Tua played that game, I stand by it. I'll say it again. We win that game. We win that playoff game. Just, I don't know what else to say. So
yeah, and look, I don't think everyone has to act like Tua walks on water, but to wake up and say today I'm going to try to argue that Skylar Thompson is better than Tua Tagovailoa, I just don't get it.
Yeah. Bro, and I'm saying Tua Tagovailoa was terrible against Kansas City, but when you break it down, Skylar Thompson was worse against Buffalo. 40% completion percentage? Are you kidding me? When has Tua ever sniffed under 50% completion percentage?
And if Skylar Thompson was all that, the Dolphins don't go run out and sign Mike White, right?
Yeah, he
right.
They don't,
exactly.
Right. They don't even think he's a solidified backup. They don't even have that belief in him. So it's kind of just nonsense to even argue it at this point.
Knight says they need to get it done. I hate this time of year. He's talking about Tua. Hammer says Danny Crossman is to blame for us not reaching expectations. We get rid of Wilkins and Neal for his audio problems. Knight says, Jen said if there's a tornado, I'm getting new shoes.
Mama needs new shoes.
Russell and Neal, fins up, fellas. Good evening, ladies. Looking forward to your content. And let's see some more spicy firecracker Jen tonight. Rolling on floor, laughing, winky face. Like I said, Tua will likely see 58 to 60 mil waiting to cost us. He might not be lying. He might be cracking freaking 60 mil at the way we're going here. So, and Ken says it best. Skylar can't even beat out Mike White.
Ken is a G.
Skylar going to the practice squad.
I'm not sure he makes the team. I'll say that. I'm not sure he makes the team this year.
Well, he will, because you can carry the third quarterback as an emergency backup without taking a roster spot.
But didn't you know Zach Hardison's the best quarterback ever, and he's coming in?
Oh, Gavin Hardison. No,
Gavin Hardison. That's what I'm just.
I don't know about that, bro. From UTEP, the UTEP guy. I don't know. Like, he can throw a fastball and he's got good deep touch, but when you start looking at like the intermediate short level and start watching them have to make decisions and be accurate, it's not ideal. But I mean, hey, you never know. It's the underwear Olympics, and he was looking decent. So, Arguably, Skylar did beat out Mike White. Look at the stats. What are you talking about? Did the coaching staff
I thought we
elevate
already.
Skylar Thompson to quarterback 2 and I didn't know
Why are we
this?
talking about this?
Miller, you've already had your funeral. Go.
There's really like a contingency of people that think Skylar Thompson is like a starting caliber
Yeah, and I'll
quarterback.
tell you
mean,
why,
that exists.
because a certain platform went out here and tried to tell everyone he was quarterback 1 material. The same platform that said Josh Rosen was a franchise quarterback, the same platform that said Brissett and Bridgewater would beat out Tua. The same platform and owner of that platform that won't come here on the content creator panel because he's afraid of getting, eviscerated. So, because takes like that, it ain't going to be fun when Alf and people like and Kyle Krabs and people like me get a hold of that. It ain't going to be fun. Speaking of, Wednesday, I will be live. Richmond Webb, Dougley Durong, Mr. Ballgame, and I believe we're working on it, but I think Alan Papar is going to join that. And then Thursday, it'll be me, Neal, Kyle Krabs, Omar, and Alf. So I've split
that'll be a good one.
I've split. You guys voted on 10. Big O wants to do his own one-on-one show with me, and then TD obviously, running for the hills.
He's a baby.
And so I've split up the other 8 into 2 different shows, so it's not too hectic with like 9 of us up here trying to make points and stuff. So. Yeah. All right, so we got that coming for you guys this week. Anyways, let's hop right into this. First of all, before we do, Neal, you haven't had a chance. Let's hear your thoughts on because you weren't around last week for Fin Too Deep, and then last weekend you weren't around for Dolphins After Dark. So, your thoughts on Calais Campbell?
I think it was the best possible move the Dolphins could have made, and when you look at the price tag, it's astonishingly good. It's not a direct replacement for Christian Wilkins, right? Like, that's just not going to happen. But Calais Campbell, man, I mean, he was highly productive. He fits the run. He sets the edge. He still can get to the quarterback. He brings immense leadership. Whenever you see a deal like that, you have to believe that he views the Dolphins as a championship contender, right? Like, he has not cashed in on a Lombardi.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, a lot of players say that, but then you look at the contract and it's like, oh, that guy cashed in. Like, Calais Campbell doesn't need $1.7 million at this point in his career.
OBJ all over again, right? That's
right,
exactly
and that makes me think the Dolphins aren't done, because I think there's going to be more veterans that follow suit. But I thought it was an absolute home run. Calais Campbell and Anthony Weaver reunited, and I look. That is a huge get at this time of the year, because I could argue he's a top 5 player on that defense right now. So when you could get a player of that caliber for $1.7 million, I'm all about it.
Sorry, I'm just laughing because John's in the chat. Oh my God, that's hilarious, John.
Where is he?
Just scroll up a little bit. You'll see it. Oh my God. I think okay, like before before
it's like Neal on his hot boy walk right now.
Yeah.
Hot boy summer walk? It's hot boy summer walk. What do you mean? Hey. Russell says backup left guard and center, please, to complete this team.
I still want a right guard.
Well, you got 2 of them.
Do you think he means backup center. I got you.
Yeah. He means backup center and left guard.
And left guard. Yep, gotcha.
Yeah. We got 2 right guards though, right? They got Eichenberg and Driscoll. Mm-hmm. The question is, who's backing up Isaiah Wynn and who's backing up Aaron Brewer?
Yeah.
Because we got to actively root for Liam Eichenberg to lose this battle. As this roster stands, we have to actively root for him to lose to Driscoll so he can be the backup center, because we got like nothing. We got UDFAs, you know what I mean? And I don't know about that. Britt, did you end up reading that article?
No.
Thank God I didn't take the time to screenshot that and told you the secret, huh? Oh my God.
I told you before we came on, I said I feel very unprepared for tonight, but we're gonna wing it and go for it.
Wasn't that like this morning you asked about that?
He sure was. And then I was watching a live stream of the concert, and that took up all my day.
Swifties, man.
It's a big day for us.
Why didn't you should have flown? You should have flown out there.
My bestie's out there right now. She
Taylor?
actually was like, yeah, her and her family went out to London. To go
Oh, I
see
thought you were
her.
talking about Taylor herself.
Oh no, like my my actual bestie.
Russell says Ike can trash till he proves otherwise. I mean, at least at
enough.
times he looked serviceable last year. You can't say that for any of the other years he was here.
And we said the same thing about Austin Jackson. We did. I did, at least. I said the same thing about Austin Jackson at this time last year. And he proved me wrong, and I'm hoping Eichenberg can at least do similarly. I will say that I'm starting to feel good about Aaron Brewer.
I am.
I've been watching a little bit more of him, and
I don't think there's going to be that much of a dip, if any, bro.
Yeah, and I think he's actually going to shine in the running game for us, and I like that because I do think there's going to be. I don't think it's going to be a monumental shift, but I do think there's going to be a slight shift in us running the ball a little more than we did last year.
Because you can do more with him, right? Like you can pull him across. He's more athletic than Connor. Like
he's great in space.
Stuff you can do with him. Yeah.
He's great in space.
He's quick to the second level, etc.
He really is. I actually started liking it, and I know we're not PFF is gospel, but they had him ranked as the 11th center in football. Like that, if he's a top half center to me for $7 million a year, I mean that's great value.
I agree. I concur. All right, so let's start this off. So Miami Dolphins, they're expected to revamp their extension offer to Tua Tagovailoa. And what this is Jeremy Fowler. Basically, I'll read what he said here, but Jeremy Fowler said on SportsCenter, when was this? I want to say it was Saturday morning or Friday night. It was one of those two. And he said, Tua could point to Trevor Lawrence's deal and say, hey, look, I just led the league in passing. I played 17 games. Showed that I'm durable. Let's try to get something done. And so the sense I get after asking around is the Dolphins do want to do a long-term deal. They've wanted it for a while. They've been in contact in recent weeks. Nothing has intensified as of yet. It's late June. This is typically a pretty slow time for front offices that they take time off. Could heat up closer to training camp. But the feeling is that they're going to revamp their efforts. They're not naive. They know what the market now is with 6 different quarterbacks making at least $50 million a year. So Tua should join that club eventually. Let's start off with you, Neal, because I mean, we talked about this contract a little bit last weekend, and Jennifer made actually a lot of good points in terms of when she's talking about, she's not just talking about Tua, she's talking about it's ridiculous that all these quarterbacks, the money they're making, I think we can all, agree here that Trevor Lawrence is like a 12 to 16 range type of quarterback, and this guy is tying the annual average salary of Joe Burrow. Now, Joe Burrow has more guaranteed money on his deal. So when you talk about real money, okay, there's a discrepancy. But what are your thoughts on Miami? Basically, he says there they understand where the market is at, and they're revamping their efforts to sign him, meaning maybe they're upping the guaranteed money. Maybe they're being a bit more lenient on how they're structuring it to protect him to get him more money. How do you take that? How do you take that phrasing of they're revamping their efforts to get this contract done with Tua Tagovailoa?
Yeah, look, I think it's one of those things that, Chris Greer, like we gave him credit for playing the Jalen Waddle contract the right way here. To quote Ricky Bobby's father, if you're not first, you're last. They're going to overpay Tua. They're going to overpay Tua Tagovailoa in terms of what we all expected 3 months ago. The price has gone up because they've been so slow. Yeah. Like Tua is a better player than Trevor Lawrence. I don't even think there's much pushback on that at this time anymore. So, like it is what it is. But like they haven't done themselves any favor. They've probably added $4 to $5 million to his cap hit because they've been so slow. But there's no leverage for the Miami Dolphins. They're a team competing right now. They need a franchise quarterback. Tua's been as good as advertised. So it's like they got to get it done. They just got to pay, it's kind of like if you were going to get a home repair done before COVID, and then there's a supply issue, and now everything's 3 times more expensive than it was beforehand.
Buddy.
Unfortunately, that's what's going to have to happen for the Miami Dolphins.
I feel like you're attacking me right now because.
Yeah, are you in a tornado?
No. He's talking about the whole getting housework done before COVID. And that's literally what happened to me. We were gonna get our basement done. We were quoted at 27,000 before COVID, and then after COVID, it was like 39 because wood went up. Wood went up. Everything went up. It was ridiculous.
Here it would have gone to 100
for a basement.
I'm telling you, things went up 3 times.
Yeah, here it's crazy. We were getting an addition for my mother-in-law lives with me. We're getting her own kind of corridor in the house, 1,300-foot extension. In 2020, we got quoted at 130. We approved it at 320.
I'm telling you, right?
Wow.
So
ours was just under 1,000 square feet. So y'all got some crazy prices down there. God damn.
Yep.
Northeast is crazy expensive. But yeah, like I think, look, they got to get the deal done. Who else can they get, especially at this point? It's going to make that kind of the Tua supporters and the anti-Tua even more at odds once this contract comes out.
It's true.
But at the end of the day,
I can't wait for the chaos, Neal. I'm like sitting here like Birdman hand rub, just watching. Can't wait.
Well, and I'll say one thing. When I hear like Bills and Jets fans saying, "I can't wait for the Dolphins to sign Tua Tagovailoa so I can open up a space to celebrate," like at first for the Jets, you're 0-5 against the guy. You have a 1-year window with Aaron Rodgers. You're not going to win a Super Bowl this year. You're going to go back to being below average to the worst franchise in the NFL after this season, and you would die to have a 26-year-old quarterback that could do what Tua could do. And for the Bills, sure, you've had your way with us, but let's not act like you guys are the cream of the crop. The same way you've had your way with us, Pat Mahomes has had his way with you. You haven't accomplished anything. The trophy case is empty. Like, worry about your own team. Like, don't worry about our quarterback deals. Like, I just think it's stupid when I hear people say that. Like, we're going to celebrate. You're going to celebrate the number 1 passer in the NFL signing an extension with his team that's in your conference? That doesn't make sense.
The cream of the crop. Oh, yeah. All right, Brittney, Jennifer, your thoughts. Okay, we'll start with Brittney because she's so prepared for this question. Let me ask you this. Okay, so my take on this, because we kind of talked about the numbers and stuff last week, and so my take on this is kind of what I asked Neal, and I'll ask both of you this separately. When you hear they're revamping their efforts to get this done, how do you take that? How do you take it?
That? I think because I've heard the rumors that like the 60 million mark is we shouldn't be shocked. And so like I hear that and I hear revamping and I'm like, oh my gosh, are we really going to go up to 60 million? Like, is this really happening right now? That's a lot of money. But I will go back to what I said, that it's not my money. So yeah, revamping, I feel like that has to be going up.
And they understand that's where it's at right now, right? So
yeah.
But that is a good point, that it's not our money. I do like, because I spend a lot of time talking about contracts and stuff like that, and I wonder, it's like, why the hell do I care so much? Like, it's not my money. Like, if they want to,
it's content to talk about, Neal. That's why it's your job to talk about it.
Yeah, I know, but you know what I'm saying. It's like,
I know,
it's funny because it always works out.
Yeah,
like,
but
that's
bro,
what's
you
crazy.
don't get stressed out. You don't get stressed out over this stuff. Like Jennifer made her point last week about how these guys shouldn't be paid like this, but you don't see her sitting here going into spaces for 8 hours just complaining about Tua Tagovailoa is going to get 55 million. We don't let it consume our lives. These people, some of these people out here, their hate for this kid, they let it consume their lives and their everyday thinking. Like, you know that meme where the wife's looking over at the husband in bed and it's like, oh, I bet you think about another girl. Well, no, the bubbles actually think, I can't believe they're going to pay him $55 million to $60 million. Like, that's how these people be living. It's ridiculous.
Well, you know what's the worst world to live in, reason? Instead of worrying about what we're paying our franchise quarterbacks, I'd much rather do that than worry about if we have one, right?
Like franchise quarterback.
Yes.
I used to have those
for 20 years.
I used to went through, exactly, 25 years of me trying to convince myself, whoever it was, that we had one of those guys, and we had no one who was ever remarkably even close to what Tua's done in the last 2 years. So it's a good problem to have.
Yeah. And then going off of like what Jen said last week, like Tom Brady, Dren, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he was like very open about like him wanting to take less money so he could build the team that he wanted and needed. And so like when I hear these numbers of like, oh, he's going to reset the market, 60 million. It's hard because like, obviously I don't know Tua, but like we've seen enough of him. We see enough of like the charity work and stuff and how much like all the players mean to him and everything. So it's so hard for me to understand like why Tua wouldn't also have that type of mindset. And like, is this an athletes first that are really pushing it, or is Tua like also on the same page as athletes first? Like, yes, like I do want this kind of money. Or is Tua pushing back and saying, listen, I'd rather just have my contract. I'm okay with a little bit less. Like I wish I kind of knew what that situation was, but I also wish he would take a little bit less money so he could have the team that he wants.
Okay, let me ask you
We all
this.
want.
And maybe Jen knows this, and we'll pass over to Jen. Jen, what are your thoughts on the revamping effort statement? But also to Brittney's point, do you think it's because Tom Brady got a taste of winning and he was more worried about his legacy after he got a taste of winning before those extensions started, where he's like, hey, I'm looking around, I'm seeing the coaching staff, I'm seeing the players, especially on defense around me. I can build something legacy-wise here. Because remember, he was a Joe Montana fan, and that was all about legacy with Montana, right? Montana, people don't view him as like one of the best regular season quarterbacks ever. They view him as one of the greatest playoff quarterbacks ever, and he was all about his legacy. Do you think that factored in? And what are your thoughts on the revamping their efforts to sign Tua Tagovailoa?
So my thoughts on the revamping are probably, and I have no idea, but my guess is it probably has to do with guaranteed money. That's my guess.
Bingo.
It's not about average value. I think it's about guaranteed money. And I think that the Dolphins are likely also probably trying to, as much as they can, limit their risk on the length of it.
Yeah.
So I think it's about getting him as much money as they need to give him to work through this window, while also limiting their exposure given the kinds of risks that we've seen with him injured. I'm not saying like I'm into like they want Tua here. I'm all in on that. Like there's no question about that, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know that other people are talking about these long-term contracts. I don't think that's smart business. I just don't. I think I'd say give him more guaranteed money in the next few years. Screw it. The cap's going up, like in 3 years, his deal's going to look good no matter what.
Right. Yeah.
But right now he is the quarterback that they want, and they're going to run this offense around. I think they're going to have to up the guaranteed money. And I think there's going to be a compromise on both sides with the length of the deal and increased guaranteed money. That's my gut feeling. As far as the Tom thing, I think that part of it, you're entirely right. And I don't think it's entirely legacy related with Brady. I think he was just so psychotic about winning. Like that it wasn't even about legacy. It was just about winning now. And Bill always had a philosophy about what percentage one person could get as a percentage of the cap, always. And Tom had to be under it. And it worked in their favor to have him be under it in order to then get other players to come here who were willing to then take a discount, just like we're seeing right now with Calais Campbell, with Odell Beckham Jr. We're seeing that.
Yeah.
So it's good vibes. This is all a good thing.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to talk smack about it. Let the Jets talk about it. Let the Bills talk about it. Who you didn't mention, the Patriots fans, because they don't really care, because they're just like trying to just like crawl out of
be relevant again.
Yeah. But who is talking about, don't worry about our QB, worry about your own QB? The Raiders. I just have to throw it in there.
Are you following the Raiders now? I gotta ask.
Yeah, Jenna.
I mean, you think I'm not listening to AP speak about Christian and Max? He's like, y'all don't even worry about our QB. Worry about your own QBs, buddy. And I love that. And honestly, take that philosophy here. Don't worry about our QB. Worry about your own QBs, buddy.
I got some Aiden O'Connell on-card autos over here, so I hope he works out a little bit, but I don't think that's going to be happening.
No,
soon.
No, I'm talking about Minshew. But the point is more
Gardner.
I'm just talking about AP's like, we've got Max and Christian together right now, and he's like, it's scary. like, and everyone's making fun of them about like not having a quarterback. And his quote was, "Don't worry about our QB, worry about your own QB, buddy." And I like it. And I think it's a great quote for here too. Buffalo, New York Jets, like whatever. Don't worry about us, worry about yours.
Did you
And
see
Josh Allen is good, and I'm not trying to talk smack about him, but worry about Aaron.
He
you
just
know?
has a turnover problem. Did
Yeah,
you see Tom on Colin Cowherd? He's going to be a star in that booth, man. Did you hear what he talked about? How like, okay, what they would do is they would have.
Did I see Tom?
Okay, well maybe Brittney and Neal did.
I did. I watched it.
Did you see that part where he's? Did you see that part where he's talking about how, like, he might be the most we all thought like Peyton Manning was crazy detailed. He might be the most detail-oriented person ever in football, because it's crazy, because he would talk about how like their team meetings would be at like 8:30, and the quarterbacks would get together at like 6:30, and they would go over all 150 plus scripted plays, and they would go over each play, and they would talk about, okay, what has the lowest percentage of happening? And they would even talk about the things that have like 1% to 5% chance of happening.
Blitzing safety.
And then he would turn around and then they would, that's the first thing he would look for, right? Like, I was like, yo, this guy is nuts, because a lot of people would just try to get through the work, get it done. Okay, what's the most likely scenario outcome? And they roll with that. This guy was rolling with like the scenarios that, you know, fate-wise weren't in favor of happening, and he's preparing for them. Like,
that's why he's Tom Brady.
Well, yeah, exactly.
The great
that's
thing
Bill
about
Belichick too, right? That's a Bill Belichick trait.
So they just got two absolute psychopaths together. It just happened. Fate made them that way. It just happened. But the good news about that is anyone can do that. Anyone can put in that amount of preparation. It's just whether or not you are willing to do it.
Yeah, Brittney.
Well, and I think Tom Brady is somehow yet still underrated in the big spectrum, where he's probably one of the 5 greatest champions that ever played any professional sport, right? And for some reason, he doesn't get, like, I think what he did in the NFL is more impressive than what Michael Jordan did in the NBA. And that's going to win a Super Bowl.
Let's relax now.
No, to win a Super Bowl.
That guy would have won 8 if he did not go play baseball. 8 in a row on top of that.
Maybe, but he did. And that's what I'm like, to win 7 Super Bowls in the modern era, man, that is insane. And I do think it was the perfect harmony between Belichick and Brady. With that said, though, man, like, that drive is 1 in a billion. Like, that kind of drive when you're that great, like, I don't have that. You know what I mean?
I don't.
A lot of people don't have that.
And it's just that's who he then just happened to get paired with and was raised by, and just like it just was like a perfect storm, I think. But the point stands that like you can put in that work to, like, that doesn't take anything special physically.
No, it's all up here. And playing that position, 90% of playing that position is up here. That's why when people get lost in these physical traits of, oh, he's 6'5", blonde hair, blue eyes, and he has a cannon for an arm, he's a god. No. Like, because they tried to convince us. Remember, when Lamar started coming back around, they tried to do what they did when Vic was around, and they started trying to transition and convince us that the pocket quarterback is dying. This is the new wave. When those mobile quarterbacks, how many Super Bowls have they won? And the pocket quarterback will never die, just like the running game will never die, right? And the thing is, what Tua doesn't have those sexy big traits, but what he does have is elite intangibles, right? Anticipation, processing, accuracy, touch on the football, like, you know, footwork in the pocket. Like, he's got a lot of the intangibles that, you know, they don't flash on highlight reels, but they're like the things that I named. You know, I've said this, and listen, this is what the offensive side of the Patriots dynasty was basically built on. It was built on, right, accuracy, efficiency, and having an elite-minded quarterback. And that goes back to the details we were just talking about. And you look at Tua, right? Tua basically, he's already got the accuracy, right? And I mean, he's already got the efficiency, and now he just needs to finish growing up here, and it's over. Like, you can, that's why I say you can win with Tua. It's not even like a lot of the traits to it. Like, was Tom Brady athletic? Did Tom Brady have the biggest cannon in football? No, but Tom Brady was. Go ahead.
Sorry,
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say he barely ran, and like when he did
Oh.
run, he would get so angry. He would like look at his teammates like, ugh, and like this. He's still the go. I don't think. Well, I don't know if ever in my lifetime I'll see a quarterback as great as him. Maybe Patrick Mahomes may get there one day, but it's just he was not one of those dual threat type of quarterbacks. But Tom Brady, he was so smart. He had everything. He knew how to go off script. He did all of that. And it had nothing to do with his being able to run the ball down the field or any of that.
Or just big time throws. And I mean, look what Tua's doing. I'm talking about like 80-yard, 90-yard bombs that Herbert throws on the run. You didn't need those. What I'm saying is, and even the Tom House factor, after Brady got hurt, right, and we won the division, and you look at Tom Brady, what did he do? He went to Tom House and was like, okay, you know what? I don't have the biggest arm, but let me squeeze every ounce out of my mechanics by going to the best in the business. And that's what he did. And now you see what Tua is doing as he's starting, his body's getting back to what it should have been, right? Because remember, when Tua came in the league, guys were preparing for season one. Tua was rehabbing to get on the field for season one. Those are two totally different paths you're going down. And so he's always been behind the 8 ball by a year or two compared to his, the other guys that came out of that class in terms of Herbert and Burrow and stuff like that, right? So now that he's starting to catch up and his body's catching up, now he's taking the steps that you saw guys like Tom Brady take, going to learn from the best in the business to squeeze every ounce out of your abilities, and you got to respect that.
And again, sorry.
Go ahead, Jen. Ladies first.
Sorry, thank you. And again, I was going to say, just like, as a reminder, like I constantly have to check myself on how young or how early it is into his career.
Yeah.
I constantly have to. I have to say, like, wait, that's how he came in, which is different than everybody else, but then constantly check myself on just, he's young. We've seen quarterbacks play 20 freaking years, and they literally change and evolve over time and become different people.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to remind myself that, just because, like, he's healthier, stronger, is more confident, is in an offense that completely plays to his strengths, has the weapons around him that he needs, has the confidence. Now he can go work on those mechanics. The last thing I'd say is, like, with Brady was like then an Alex Guerrero weirdo freaking witch doctor. But I'm like, get him that too. I don't care. Like, send Alex Guerrero there immediately. Honestly, because Brady will credit Guerrero with that more than he will anyone else other than Bill.
Yeah, and just Guerrero got his help to get his body right too, right?
Got his elbow right. He's the one who really got his elbow right. He's the one who did it, and then in conjunction with Tom House. But yes, and then so.
Well, here's another thing.
Every opportunity.
Look at this way.
And I feel like Tua would do that. Like, he's not some dude out and about doing whatever.
No,
like,
he's one of the hardest workers in the room. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. Like, I appreciate that so much. It gives me a Christian vibe, like, and it does though. I gotta say, no, I'm
Tua,
just saying.
You got a new stalker on your hands. Okay, but let me ask you this. Jen, because you've been watching sports for a long time. Brittney, you've been watching sports for a long time. Neal, long time. Have you ever remembered, especially specifically in football, a quarterback coming out of college with that it's not an ACL tear, with that catastrophic of an injury that they say that usually happen in high impact car accidents where people were writing them off? Have you seen someone elevate from that to lead the league in passing at the next level? Usually those guys are out of the league in 4 or 5 years.
What did Alex Smith do anything after? No. So no, we saw him come back, but no, I've never seen him.
The only guy that comes to mind for me is a guy that got hurt in his professional career in Drew Brees and led the league in passing. And it's funny because
that's after what? Working with Tom House.
But that's
Tom House.
That's the yearly similar comp for Tua has always been, he's a left-handed Drew Brees. And it's ironic that his career trajectory is kind of, it's accelerating before Brees's did. But, one of the things that I think is, everything you said, Reason, about him growing in the system, like, it's not just football. Usually when you're learning a new behavior, the first 2 years you're getting acclimated, and then from year 2 to 3 is where you go from learning to mastering that, right? And I think a lot of Tua's, let's say his interception type throws are him a lot of times maybe second guessing himself, maybe trying to be a little too confident with some of those throws. And I think that what you're going to see is a gigantic leap this year in his confidence and his understanding of the offense and where the football is going to go. And I think the Dolphins did him a lot of favors in surrounding him with even more, explosive receiving, weapons and Jonnu Smith and Odell Beckham, and going out and getting another running back and Jalen Wright. Like, I think you're going to see a mental leap from Tua from last year to this year. And that's why I think it's going to be his best statistical season, not just because of the weapons, but I think he's going to have a strong grasp of that offense. And one of the things we've learned through this whole Tua contract scenario is you're starting to see him get some rightfully deserved love from, some of the best media members out there. Like,
Yeah,
I
agree.
listened to Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks last week, and they've been under this exercise of ranking the position groups in each division.
Mm-hmm.
And, and I'm not going to say I think Josh Allen's a better quarterback than Tua Tagovailoa right now. So I wasn't surprised when they had Josh Allen 1. I was surprised that both of them had Tua over Aaron Rodgers, even though I think it's accurate.
Isn't Bucky always been a Tua fan, though?
Yeah, Bucky is, but Jeremiah's kind of
Daniel Jeremiah. Yeah.
He's kind of been a little critical of him, and they were unanimous on that. And I think they gave us the best running back room in the division, and obviously the best receiver. And I think they gave us the best weapons, overall in the whole AFC East. And I think it's just you've seen some of the the main voices in football give Tua his flowers, because you have to appreciate what's happened. Like, you can make context, excuses, whatever you want, that he has Tyreek, whatever. Like, we didn't crucify Pat Mahomes when he had Travis Kelce and Tyreek. We don't do it to Joe Burrow. We don't do it to Lamar Jackson. Like, not everybody's going to be Tom Brady that can make Julian Edelman, Troy Brown, and Deion Branch look like all pros, right? Like, that's just not. That's why Tom Brady's so special. Like, I like, you could give anybody the best weapons in the world, they still got to get the ball to them. Yeah. And when you're number one in the league, number one, not two, not three, you're number one in categories at the quarterback position, there is no argument that you're a high impact player. It's Pete Prisco just came out with his list of top 100 players heading into the year. And the Dolphins had a bunch of players on there. And I saw Tua right in there at like 65. And I think he was like the 7th overall quarterback on that list. Ooh. And that's exactly where I have him.
He's top 8. He's top 8.
7-8 is exactly where I have Tua. But I say that with the notion that I think he can get elevate to the top 5. Sundays. I do.
Sunday, he could be the best or top 3 in the league. I agree.
All he has to do is change narratives, and he's done that every year. And look, we're not patient. We've been waiting for playoff wins, for Super Bowls as Dolphin fans for so long that as soon as we get a taste of it, we want to devour it and make sure that it happens right away. Yeah. And sometimes you got to crawl before you walk before you run. And what I think we've seen here over the last couple seasons is that this Dolphins team is preparing themselves to develop into a franchise that does know how to win when it gets late in the season. And it takes time, because we point to the Bills, the Bengals, the Chiefs. Not like Pat Mahomes is another outlier.
He's one of one.
Right. But like, it's not like Joe Burrow. It's Joe Burrow. He had that one season. He hasn't done it again. Like, I don't want to take that away from him. Josh Allen didn't. Josh Allen in year 1 in Buffalo didn't look like Josh Allen today. Like, things take time in the NFL. The other team tries, and I just think it's one of those things that, like, I keep saying this in every platform I ever have, and it's, sometimes don't look at it, the grass is green on the other side of the fence. Get your hose and water your own grass. Like, we are lucky to have Tua Tagovailoa as our franchise quarterback. Like, this is something. And I don't know how, old most of the listeners are, but I'm 41 years old. Like, I used to walk in and try to find ways the Dolphins would backdoor into the playoffs. I can tell you right now, in June, whatever the hell date it is, the Dolphins are going to make the playoffs this year. If Tua stays healthy, I'm 100% positive the Dolphins are going to go to the playoffs this year. And I haven't been able to do that for 20 some years in my life. So I think we're in a really good spot. And I do think it's great that Tua is getting some love in the national media, because I think he deserves it, man. I think he's one of the most underappreciated players in this league, and I'm not just saying that as a Dolphins fan. Like, I think of Baker Mayfield in Tampa, for example, right? He got the Browns a playoff win, and they discarded him. Then he got kicked to the Panthers and the Rams. To go watch him get a good contract from Tampa Bay and have a decent season, like, as a guy who likes football, to see a guy like Baker come back and rebound and secure, financial success and a starting quarterback. That's awesome to see. Like, to see Tua be discarded 2 years ago, it looked like his career was unraveling. A coach didn't believe in him. He looked frail. He looked beaten down by the league. To see this guy kind of resurface in the last 2 years and back-to-back seasons in the upper echelons of quarterbacks, to be talking about getting a deal in the $55 million range, like, that is, when I watch the NFL draft, and the reason I scout and fall in love with the draft process is I die to see those type of stories come to fruition, right?
Yeah.
Like, and it couldn't happen to a better person. That's why I just don't get, like, it does seem like it's like a Tim Tebow-esque cult against Tua Tagovailoa, and I just never understood people that wish bad things on good people, and I think you see a lot of that in this league, and I just don't get it, because I don't like the Bills, I don't like the Jets, I don't like the Patriots, but I don't wake up and try to find out, let me jump into some space so I can talk shit about the Jets or Bills, right? Like, I just think it's weird. It's like weird behavior, and it just shows jealousy. That's all it is.
Yeah. I mean, you make a good point with Josh Allen, and I'll use that right now. Josh Allen, what he looked like, okay? Well, there's a couple points to make here. First of all, you talk about, Patrick Mahomes, like these players elevating players. I say this all the time. I remember there were people in this fan base who were betting me that Lynn Bowden Jr. would outproduce Albert Wilson Jr. Where's Lynn Bowden Jr. right now? Mike Gesicki. People in this fan base wanted to pay Mike Gesicki $10+ million. Where's Mike Gesicki right now? And that's because of what he looked like with Tua Tagovailoa. Preston Williams, Devontae Parker. I I Malcolm Perry. Where is Malcolm Perry right
Isaiah
now?
Ford.
I honestly feel like you're going directly at me.
No, I'm not. I'm talking about people that were in love with these players because Tua elevated them. And now that they're gone and they don't have Tua, some of these guys are out of the league. While you look at a guy like Trevor Lawrence gets $55 million and he can't elevate Calvin Ridley. Right? That's where I'm going with that. And, like Josh Allen. With Josh Allen, here's the point I was going to make with Josh Allen. What was Josh Allen before he got Stephon Diggs? Inaccurate. Right? Was known as renowned, not a good passer. Buffalo Bills fans are ready to give up on him. But look at the growth. And I've talked about this all the time. It's a Tyreek point. Okay, I'll use Tom Brady.
Exactly.
Tom Brady never threw 30 touchdowns before Randy Moss arrived. And then look at his numbers after Randy Moss, and look at what he was doing with the guys you named earlier, Neal, the Edelmans and such. Look at what he's doing, because
Chris Hogan.
What he learned from a great, he passed on to others, and it helped develop his game. It's the same thing with Tua and Tyreek. When Tyreek leaves, Tua is going to be just fine because of the things he learned playing with him.
That's what I'm trying to say about that too. Like,
yeah,
if it took this stuff now to do it, like there's like a big probability that like then later on he doesn't need the fastest human we've ever seen.
No,
you know what I mean?
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like there is a world where then after this, when you get your feet under you, that like you become this machine where then you don't need this forever.
Yep, exactly.
You know what I mean? And so that's what I say. That's the part that I keep reminding myself. This is so freaking new. Yeah. And we've seen it. Yeah. And we've just seen such like development.
Yeah.
And like,
and so
new, to Brittney's point,
we've seen
stay in your eras.
Exactly.
There are eras and eras and eras. And there are eras wwhere you no longer need the Randy Moss to be elite.
Yeah, exactly.
And I really genuinely believe it and have seen it. So, I don't know. That's what I'm hoping for. Obviously. And I'm happy, like, with just to comment quickly on what Neal said, that like finally there are some like national media folk coming around on this stuff.
I agree.
Did you see Kurt Warner on Kyle Krabs?
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
Kyle Krabs was great.
Really good.
He killed that spot throwing narrative is beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, but also like Kurt Warner sort of said the same. I don't know. He kind of said the same thing. If I'm in the wrong system, this doesn't work that well. When I went from the Rams, Jet, whatever.
Yeah.
And he basically said the same thing. I kind of evolved. I needed this. I had that. It didn't work out well. And then I was back in this,
110%.
but it was different types of receivers that then I learned how to work with. Right. So
Yeah.
just
Well, think about this, right?
evolving.
Well, she's onto it, right? Because look at he learned with Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt, Jennifer,
Exactly.
and then in Arizona he elevated Anquan Bolden and Larry Fitzgerald, and what
Larry
did those guys
Fitzgerald.
turn into?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And they were different. They were all different
Receivers.
types of
Yeah,
receivers.
exactly.
Just like Tom was
Yeah.
talking about with Cowherd, like how
Yeah.
hard it was to get it to an X, right?
Yeah.
Versus
The
getting
boundary.
it to guys
Yeah.
like closer to you. And
Yeah.
but
Out of the
he
slot
did it
and
with
stuff.
Randy, right? He
Yeah.
freaking did it with Randy. And
Yeah.
and he found a way to do it with everyone he needed to, but it took becoming the quarterback that he was in order to learn all of that. And then react to defenses and and post snap and whatever, all that stuff. So we gotta be patient. Neal's right about that. We're
Jen,
annoying.
think about this. If he has 12 more seasons that average right around the same production that he had the last 2 seasons, he was going to flirt breaking Dan Marino's franchise records.
Yeah, it'd be insane.
Right.
And,
Mhm.
And the game's different. And I'm not going to say around it, but we can't give other people credit for breaking records. I mean, if Tua can average in the ballpark of 4,700 to 5,000 yards and 30 touchdowns a year for 12 more years, he will break franchise records here. Like, that's insane. That's
and
insane.
He's already breaking some of Marino's single season and single game records. We're already seeing that. Because I was going to say that's the problem right now with when we're talking about this microwave mindset with Dolphin fans. I think the other reason where frustration lies in is they see us continuously the last 2 years. Our offense starts off at a historical pace.
Yeah.
And everyone's talking about how we're about to break all these like NFL records. And then, reality hits in December. But, people say Tua is bad in December. He's actually 9-7 in his career in December. It's January where he's 1-3. That's where he needs to get better. You know what I mean? And overall, like I've said with Tua, the problem is he can't win big games or he can't show up in big moments. The problem is he can, and we've seen it, but he's not consistent enough in doing that. He'll show up in 25 to 33% of those big games, those big moments, when we need you to be hitting the 50 to 60% clip. That's what we need you to be hitting so we can have a little more faith. Over 1,125 people watching us between YouTube and X right now. Okay, so let's say we're talking about this. We're all talking about we expect Tua to put up big numbers. EM Dolphin fans on record saying he thinks Tua's going to finish the job and be MVP this season. So let me ask you this. If we do not live up to expectations, who falls on the sword? Because my thing is, ladies and gentlemen, if Tua gets extended, sure, they could be weary, but there's going to be new money in play. They can't move off of him until probably year 3. So who's going to fall on the sword? Is it going to be Mike McDaniel? Is it going to be Frank Smith and they replace the offensive coordinator? Is it going to be, Danny Crossman finally gets booted out of town? Who in your mind, if things do not go the way we expect them to go this year, who falls on the sword for the Miami Dolphins?
I think that's so hard to say. I personally don't feel comfortable saying who that is because I have no idea if we do fail, which we're not going to. I'm not putting that energy out there. But I can't make a say right now without knowing what our downfall was, who is to blame for that. So for me, that is such a hard answer for me to answer, or hard question for me to answer. I need.
I'll take a stab, and it's really hard because you don't know what's going to go wrong. But I'll use a division rival, the Buffalo Bills, as a reference. They have failed to overcome, the AFC to get to the Super Bowl, right? So they've retained Sean McDermott, they've retained Josh Allen, and they've changed coordinators. I would have to envision it to be something like that. And I don't think it would be on the defensive side of the ball unless the defense just came out and was atrocious. I think it could be on the offensive side of the ball, but, where we fell short last year to me, man, I think you have to define where we fell short. We played Patrick Mahomes, the Super Bowl champs, in their house in a freaking vortex, man.
Yeah.
And I just think it's hard to sit there. Like, it's not even a good sample size of postseason success or failure against Tua. Like, if they won one playoff game, let's say it went the other way. Let's say they beat the Titans, then they went and beat Mason Rudolph and the Steelers at home, and then they lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. Would one artificial playoff win really change that much? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we didn't play our best football when we went against the best player in the league. And when you do that 9 out of 10 times, you're not going to win. The team didn't look like they were ready. The weather obviously had an impact. Sure, the Chiefs played in the same weather, but that's not our game. Like, I'm not sitting here trying to make excuses, but the Tua Tagovailoa is 0-1 in the playoffs. Like, that's the end of the story. And the guy that he's 0-1 against is Patrick Mahomes. The guy's really good, and not a lot of people beat him. But, like, you know, what, like, is not getting a playoff win the bar? Like, you know, I kind of agree with that. You know, I want to see postseason success. But if, you know, even if they get to the AFC Championship and lose, like, sure, that makes you feel a little bit good as a fan, but it's still, I mean, I think I speak for everyone on here right now, man. I want to see them hoist the Lombardi. So, like, I think continuity is key for the most successful franchises in the league. Like, I look at Baltimore, I look at Buffalo, I look at the San Francisco 49ers. Like, I see the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, they keep their quarterback coach combination together. Sure, some things change around them. A lot of times it's because their coordinators are getting poached by other teams. But if you have that coach quarterback continuity, that's what we're really looking for, I think, to establish success here in Miami. And between McDaniel and Tua, I think those are the two factors or the two variables that have to remain for this offense to continue. Because, like, again, like, this was the number one offense in the whole entire NFL. We're saying this about the Miami Dolphins. Like even as a Dan Marino fan, I didn't get to say that much as, you know, growing up. Like, we had the number one ranked offense. Now we need the defense to play complementary football, and we need the offense to be bigger in bigger moments. Absolutely. I'm not going to downplay that.
You think it'd be like Frank Smith, and then they'd elevate Bevel or Welker to offensive coordinator? Like, that would probably be the play.
That, and I think what they would try to do is maybe clip Mike McDaniel's wings a little bit around the play call and have him really focus in on the head coaching job. I think if some of the things that I noticed last year is that, again, we've talked about this ad nauseum. They were always late to the line. The clock was against them. They had a lot of procedural penalties because of it. The defense also could sit on their heels and time the snap and know when to start applying pressure, put your offensive line and quarterback at a disadvantage. Like, I think that they have to dummy it down. They have to play some more conventional football. Like, I don't mind some of the things that Mike McDaniel draws up. Obviously, it works. He's a genius. The offense was ranked number one. But I think the Dolphins' biggest problem last year was themselves. And it was, to me, really not playing enough conventional football, not lining up with the clock, you know, the time clock on your favor, where Tua can make adjustments to the line. He can read the defense. He can move people around. And the more motion you have, the harder it is in a timing and rhythm offense to make all of that work. I think they need to play a little bit more conventional offense, a little bit less motion, and just beat the people in front of them a little bit more. And I think that will help a great deal. And then I think they got to have a commitment to the running game, man. I think last year, like, Mike McDaniel couldn't help himself. It was like, you know, a kid at a candy store. Like, he got down in the red zone. He's like, oh my God, let's get Tua to throw a touchdown. I really think, like, it wasn't just about, I don't think it was just about Tua, but, like, I think it's like, when you're really good at something, you like to show it off. You know what I mean? You like to show everyone else around it, right? Like, I think it's one of those things that, like, he needs somebody in his ear being like, hey, Mike, we're averaging 6 yards a clip on the ground. Like, let's stick to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
he needs a buddy in his ear.
Hello.
Buddy system.
Yeah. I like, you know, you're talking about the time management, and Reginald in the chat brought it up. Like, you know what's inexcusable? In the last 2 years, how many times on the first drive our offense has had, which is the most scripted drive of the game, are we either having to take a timeout or getting a delay penalty on the first snap, when it's like, that's the most scripted. Like, you've done walkthroughs on this. Like, what is happening here? Right? Like I wonder myself, does McDaniel ramble in the headset till it goes out, like he does sometimes in front of the in front of the podium? Like, what happens here?
Reason I mean this is, I'm not joking, he's a very slow communicator, right? Like, that's one of the things you can see when he's at a press conference, right? And that clock is moving, and then Tua's got to regurgitate that to the team. They got to get lined up. They got to move.
And like, you got your motion before the snap too.
Yeah,
it's too dangerous to do play after play, because here's the thing: these guys are super athletes, but you can't tell me that Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle aren't sucking wind with all the motion running they do before a snap is done. You know, and then they're running all these deep routes and nonstop.
Yes.
Like Tyreek Hill's endurance. Like he might be
Crazy.
Superman. He might be Superman because the things he can do on a
He
football
doesn't
field.
warm up, right?
Yeah,
Like
it's insane.
he doesn't warm up. Like he would show up at Perform with two in them. He wouldn't warm up. He would jump right on the line and start taking routes. He doesn't even stretch. Like he just goes and goes. Like he's crazy. He's like the guy's an alien.
Yeah, he's a one of one. He's a one of one in
Yeah.
the league, man. And like, but like, long winded. Like, I think they just got to get out of their own way, man. Like they have enough talent to compete with anyone. And that's not to say that like you just steamroll and beat everyone. There's tough games along the way. You're going to lose football games, but man, like, don't make it harder on yourself. And I think in a lot of the cases when things didn't go our way, like I would say that I don't think the game plan was, we come out firing the ball downfield. That's our strength. But then like once we would be in a dogfight and we need to rely on the run, if we got to score down, it's like we gave up on the run. Like it was over. And I just think you got to be able to run the football to win this game because Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, the two quarterbacks that probably give us the biggest fits in this league. The best way to beat them is to let them sit on the sideline with a jacket on, waiting to get the ball back. And I think you do that. I mean, every time you get a first down, right, like you can shave 2 minutes off the clock. And I think it's one of those things, man, like you just have to be committed, know your opponents. Don't be afraid to be great at the run. Like, if you're worried about appeasing people like Tyreek Hill, like, dude, you got to dial in and do what's best for this team. It's not about your 2000. It's not about anyone's individual statistics. It's about winning. And the best, NFL teams, they can do that. They can put that kind of that ego aside and do what's best for the team. And I think when you're a young team with a lot of new talent, which the Dolphins have been over the last 2 years, it takes some time for that stuff to harmonize. So I do think this is going to be the best version of Mike McDaniel's offense that we've seen. I think it's going to be the best version of Tua Tagovailoa. And because of that, I think the Dolphins are going to be the best version that we've seen in the last 3 years.
So show the mic in the helmet cuts off at 15 seconds, but if you're constantly pressing it till that 15 seconds, that means you got 15 seconds to go call the play in the huddle. Now you got to make your adjustments at the line if you see any, and you got to get the motion in 15 seconds. I mean, you should be getting out there with at least 20 seconds on the clock to go run your stuff. You shouldn't be rushing. One of the key things about playing the quarterback position is your order of operations. And when you start rushing order of operations is when mistakes happen. And by basically taking them to the last second every single time, you're going to run it. It's inevitable. You're going to run into instances and sometimes multiple instances where you are rushing your order of operations. And that's how mistakes happen. So you can't be taking it down to 15 seconds every single time. You got to call the play and let them go do their thing. Because like Neal alluded to, there's a lot of stuff that goes on before that ball's even snapped, from the huddle to when you walk up to that offensive line. So he's got to be a little, and Neal's 110% right. You see him. He is a little bit of a slow communicator. He'll you even see him like in the middle of thinking while he's talking, right? So
you saw it in Hard Knocks too.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I understand that. That's like me. I totally get it. But so that's something he has to improve upon. Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. I don't think that he's the one that's going to go down with the ship. Like, I think he's clearly a great coach, exceptional offensive mind, has, elevated this offense in a way that would be hard for him to be the one to fall on the sword. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
Yeah. He's fired. He's hired in a week. He doesn't make it a week.
Yeah.
Look what John said too. And he's right. We're snapping at 1 second on the play clock. Way too much.
Way too much
to tee off and time the snap.
Exactly right.
That's 100. Great point, John.
That's actually a great point.
110% right. Okay, let me ask you this. I'll give you guys 3 names. Who gets extended after Tua Tagovailoa? Let's talk about someone else's extension. Who gets extended after Tua? I'll give you 3 names to choose from. Tyreek Hill, and that can be like a restructure extension.
Yep.
David Long Jr., or who's a free agent after this year, or Javon Holland, who has no 5th-year option.
David Long.
Well, I like it because that's the name that I'm hearing. I like it.
David Long.
I like it. What do you guys think? Brittney, Neal, who would you put your money on? Tyreek, David Long, or Javon Holland?
I'm going to say a Tyreek restructure. Even though I've heard David Long, I think a Tyreek structure is going to happen.
I think
it's easier.
I think Tyreek extension, new deal, new money.
Yeah.
I think notice how we all pretty much agreed that it don't look good for Holland's chances.
Holland's getting tagged after the season and playing on that tag and probably be gone after that.
But what if you don't sign to his extension and you're playing on the 5th-year option? You won't be able to afford to tag Holland.
So reason, I have a question.
It's like $18 million.
Honestly, I have a question. So
Go ahead.
Do we think that that's a possibility?
That what? They play on the 5th-year option?
That Tua plays on his 5th year.
I don't think so.
Oh, that would be.
It would be a black eye on the organization if it happened.
I totally agree with you. I'm just saying, do we think that that's a freaking possibility?
And he's going to be he'll be more expensive next year.
I'll put it this way. Anything's possible in life. So I'd be an idiot and ignorant if I said that it's not. But I think it's like 80-20 that it gets done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and if it doesn't get done by the beginning of the season, it probably gets done in season if he's healthy and producing.
Yeah, and it financially just doesn't make as much sense either.
No, I'm telling you, you
gives you more flexibility.
That's it.
Yeah,
right there.
Yeah,
right
totally.
there. And then the whole idea of we can franchise tag him next year. Okay, so then if you franchise tag him, Javon Holland's walking no matter what. You only got one franchise tag, and even if you could do 2 franchise tags, we don't have the cap space to franchise tag those 2, right? So
and even if you're planning on doing that for 2 years, then you do it for 3 years and give him guaranteed money, make everybody happy, and see what happens. Yeah. You don't need to lock someone up for 5 years.
It will be a failure on the organization if they don't get this deal done.
And players would be legitimately pissed because they're already bothered that
they're already mad.
Right.
And they've made it known publicly, basically.
And all the positive we've done with spinning this culture to be one of the best in football. Like it's a dangerous game. I still think it's going to happen before training camp. I'm on record to say I think it happens by mid-July. I'm sticking to that. I think the Dolphins are going to have, when they're talking about revamping a deal, they're going to acquiesce and give them more guaranteed money. The AAV probably
that's exactly what I think will happen.
Yeah, I don't think the AAV, the annual percentage, is going to change at all. I just think they're move the guaranteed. It's going to surpass Trevor Lawrence. It is what it is. The Dolphins are going to have to bite the pill and swallow it because they put themselves in this position. But they're going to get this deal done. They're not.
Neal, did the Jags really give him that? They said they gave him $200 million, but only 142. They said they gave him $200 million guaranteed, but only 142 of that is real guaranteed money. They really gave him guaranteed money based on potential and a type of prove it thing. They didn't really give him a ton of guaranteed money, Trevor Lawrence, right?
Well, I mean, pardon my language, but if they have to make 2 of the most expensive quarterback in football right now, oh fucking well, it is what it is. Dak Prescott, Dak Prescott will beat it in a month or 2, or when he leaves.
It goes back to what Jen said. In 3 years, it'll be a bargain.
Yeah,
exactly.
If you want to go buy a Ferrari tomorrow, reason I'm not going to tell you how to spend your money, man. I'm not going to tell the Dolphins how to spend theirs. Like if they didn't keep this quarterback, the free agent market next year is awful. The draft class is awful. Where the Dolphins are going to pick, there is nobody even in the remote ballpark of Tua Tagovailoa. There's no plan B here anymore. That ship has sailed. You have to get the deal done. There's no. You lost the negotiation, Miami Dolphins. It is what it is. You played cute. You waited too long. And look, to be fair to them, Tua was one of the most unique situations because of that injury you mentioned, reason, and where he really became the plateaued starter of this team, and where Mike McDaniel came in. There's been just a lot of changing parts there, so it's been hard for them to probably gauge what it is and the concussions and stuff. But at the end of the day, every contract that's got signed between the time you had the opportunity to sign Tua and now has put you in this position. And the longer you wait, the more expensive it gets still. So the ride never ends here. You have to make this end. And the only way you can do that, if they're smart, they're calling Tua Tagovailoa's agent tomorrow, and they're saying, all right, athletes first. That Trevor Lawrence deal will go 5% more guaranteed money. Same deal. Will you take it?
Yeah.
Right?
I think he would too. And give him 1 million more on annual average. Just 1 million more or half a million more. That's it.
Who gives a shit?
You know what I mean? Cody Fox says we lost against the Titans last year because when full conservative clock control mode, kept running and giving them the ball back, needed to stay aggressive. And Darth Logan says with his membership, you think his wide receivers will not show up the first day of camp out of solidarity for Tua? Or no, I don't think so.
This isn't Rudy. They're not going to throw their jersey on Mike McDaniel's desk. You know what I mean? Like they're going to be there. But here's the thing I'll say about Tua. that I love about him is that I think he's the kind of guy, though, where you might sign him to a contract that's higher than you ever anticipated, and everyone's going to be like, holy crap, the Dolphins did this. But he's the type of player that rewards you for that stuff, man. He's not going to stop working any harder. That's the thing about a guy like Tua Tagovailoa that I like, the man, not the football player. But I think he's the kind of guy that, will keep giving you everything he has. He's not going to rest on his laurels just because he got paid. Like, he's the type of dude you want to invest in, right? Like, he's that type of guy.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Brittney? Go ahead.
What was I going to say? I don't
remember.
I don't know. I don't know what I was going to say. Really don't.
10-17 man, he makes a good point. He said the team can't afford to keep putting the wrong perception out on a quarterback, and I think and when he says can't afford to keep putting out, they didn't get out and squash the Deshaun Watson rumors. They haven't made anything under their control.
Zero
they haven't
favors.
made it easier on Tua at all through his whole tenure here, like at all. It's been kind of crazy. Okay, so
I remember what I was going to say. I was going to say I don't think Tua is also like gonna. I don't think he's going to like
he'll
not show up either.
He'll hold in, right? He'll do like 7-on-7 work.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
He won't do full work, right? Like that's what it'll be. Yeah, kind of like what Jennifer's boy Christian did last year, right?
Christian, no. Let's not get it twisted. That man played until it came to joint practices.
Yeah. But that's still not 100% participation.
Yeah, but Tua didn't do 11-on-11s already. So don't try to check me on this man.
No, hey, because I remember him sitting out.
Don't try to check me on my man.
Sitting out when they were doing the practice in the stadium. Remember when they were doing their first in-stadium practice or whatever? I remember like the shots of him at the back of the end zone.
And that was the first day when Omar said, and when Omar and whoever else came on and said, I didn't see him all day. And I was in spaces going, Omar just said he looked like Aaron freaking Donald. So there's no way that he didn't notice him. And then I was in spaces arguing with Lewis and everybody else. And I said, he said he stopped. He said he stopped. And that's exactly what happened. He came to that practice, but it wasn't mini camp and OTAs. Christian participated in every damn thing during all those in his Monarchs looking like a hot dad.
Vic called him out too. Remember,
Vic called him out after. No, Vic called him out after the season, but I mean after the start of the season,
right?
But also prior to that, Vic said he is one of the best defensive players.
Yeah, he did. He bigged him up. There's only a few players he bigged up. Javon Holland and Christian Wilkins were like two of them, right?
Yeah.
And don't worry, guys. Jennifer knows every movement he made at practice because she was up in the nosebleeds with her binoculars, hiding so security wouldn't find her.
Yes, like Bill Belichick with his like orange shoes. That meme.
Yeah.
Trust me, I know. But everyone got it twisted. They said he sucked, and that wasn't it. He sat out, but it didn't happen until then. FYI. And don't play with me about this because I know.
Over 1,250 people watching Jennifer stand for Christian Wilkins right now.
Sorry. But I'm ready. I'm so ready to support Zach and Calais. I'm down. Yeah. I really am.
Yeah. Okay, so final thing here. You guys can give me your final thoughts. Plus, in your final thoughts, what are your expectations for the offensive line this year? Is it just stay healthy? Is it you expect us to be a top 5 run game and a top 5 passing team again? Like, I mean, they were 31st in pass block win rate. So my expectation is you got to be a lot better than 31st in pass block win rate. But my expectation is if stay healthy, and I think we'll not only be one of the best passing offenses in the NFL, I think we will be one of the best running offenses in the NFL with Achane, the new Jalen on the team, and of course Raheem the Dream. So what are your guys' expectations for this offensive line? We'll start with you, Jennifer, and then we'll go to Brittney, and then we'll finish with Neal.
So mine aren't great, and I feel terrible saying that. I just don't know. It just seems like it's stuck together with like duct tape and like, I don't know, like a thing of twine or something. So I'm worried about it. I like AJ. I don't expect. I love Neal's optimism, and I really truly appreciate that with Liam Eichenberg having some sort of like AJ kind of renaissance this year, which is a great way to think about your first and second round picks. That OMG, by year 4 they'll finally do something, and that's a really weird way to build inside out football.
It is.
So I don't know. I thought they did a great job last year with the bunch of like misfits and Butchberry, and when everyone was healthy, like it was dope, and they were maulers, and it was fun. It was fun to watch. But I thought we should have expected the injuries that we eventually got, and then on top of it, we got injuries we didn't expect to get. And it's football, and we're always going to get injuries.
And we were prepared for neither. The ones you expect and the ones you don't expect, right?
That's exactly right. And so that scares me. So I'm just hoping for the best. And honestly, that is by far my biggest concern going into this year since the Campbell signing. Yeah. Before I was really worried about the D-line. I'm good now. I'm good. Okay. I'm Gucci. I'm sad, but I'm happy. But I'm
sad
Gucci,
panda.
Right?
Sad panda.
I'm sad.
No sad pandas. No sad
No,
pandas.
I'm not sad panda anymore. No, look, I just didn't let myself get hyped up to believe that because I thought financially it wouldn't work. The deal is absolutely insane. Like, so kudos to Brinshaw and getting this deal off. That's freaking amazing. So I just wouldn't let myself believe it because it just seemed out of reach. So I think that's dope. I'm not worried about it too much anymore. And by the way, at the deadline, if we need somebody else, we would probably grab them, right? The O-line is just neglected historically, and they didn't do a damn thing. So as far as I'm concerned, so I'm not optimistic. I don't expect Liam to have the kind of like swan moment or whatever it is that like AJ had. I just don't.
Yeah.
And I hope for the best.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, find faith in the fact that his best film last year when he was at right guard, and Jack Driscoll's best film at the pro level have been at right guard. But you're right. You expected now listen, in all fairness, this is how it went down. If you go back and watch my post-draft review, 2 picks, 2.5. Wasn't a huge fan of the Brandon Jones.
Are you gonna give me my half pick? Oh no. Okay, go ahead.
No. I wasn't a fan of the Brandon Jones pick. I hated the Noah Monogany pick when it happened, despised it. And I hated the Austin Jackson pick because I wanted us to trade up and get Tristan Wirfs in that draft. But when we got McDaniel, I said he's got poor man Trent Williams type of traits. McDaniel's going to make him work. Watch. Liam Eichenberg is the one. His feet are slow. He's clunky. He has no anchor. He's got T-Rex length arms. You know what I mean? Like these are issues. Like even, hey, you remember him? Scarnecchia couldn't even make this guy probably work. You know what I mean? So, hey, they made him serviceable a couple games, so I'll find some faith in that, I guess. But I'm with you. My issue with the offensive line is they still don't look prepared for the guys they should be prepared for to go down. They're prepared for Armstead with Lamb and Paul, but they're not prepared for when to go down at left guard because Robert Jones and Lester Cotton, I'm sorry, they're just not it right now at this stage of the development. You know what I mean? So, Brittney, what are your final thoughts? What are your expectations of the offensive line this season?
If we can stay healthy, knocking on wood, I have no issue with our offensive line if we can stay healthy. But when our season ended, I went in a deep dive. I made spreadsheets and everything. And a lot of people thought that, when we lost Connor, that was the end of our offensive line. And I argued, nope, losing win was the start of everything. Our run game was never the same after we lost Win. The only game that we had all of our offensive line starting was week 3, and we put up 70 points. That was the only time we had all of our offensive line starting ever last year. If we can stay healthy, I'm not worried, but I have a little, I don't have any faith that
because
that
history tells you that won't happen with the left side alone, right?
Armstead the left side is it's just the way it is. I wish we would
and that was my concern last year. It was the same exact concern.
And here we are again. I mean,
Yep.
Here we go. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? And remember, genius has got to be a little insane, Mike. All right, Neal, what are your expectations for the offensive line this year, and any final thoughts as we now hear the birds have gone to sleep and
now we have the crickets.
I
in
know.
the background.
It got dark fast. Yeah, I live out in farm country, so I don't have anyone within 5 acres of me but a bunch of crickets. But I think the Dolphins offensive line has the ability to be middle of the pack, and I'm good with that. Last year, we've hit it, the injuries between Terran Armstead, Connor Williams, Robert Hunt, and Isaiah Wynn. They missed a combined 36 games. If you put it in totality, that's a lot for your starting offensive line.
Yeah.
The structure of the offense and the quarterback make the line look better. I don't think the line's going to confuse anyone with the Washington Redskins Hogs from the 70s or the 91 Dallas Cowboys offensive lines by any means, but I do think they'll be adequate. But with that said, you've got these sweetheart deals with Calais Campbell and Odell Beckham. You have an abundance of salary cap space still. Why chance it? Why not go get a couple veterans like a Mark Glowinski who has a lot of starts on his belt? Go get two guys like that and solidify this unit so that you don't have to worry about that. Or go find somebody. Go find someone who's not going to start or is going to get cut. I hope their work's not done. Because, Jen, I was just saying that at this time last year, I said the same thing. I do not have confidence in Liam Eichenberg turning around. I actually think Jack Driscoll is the better player than Liam Eichenberg, and it wouldn't surprise me if he beats him out. I think they need one more guy in that interior, at least as an insurance policy. In our offensive line that can start. I do like Aaron Brewer. I like Wynn if he's healthy, but I'm at a point now. Why chance it? You have the cap space. Carpe diem.
Mm-hmm.
You can worry about the cap. They have a lot of ways to get under the cap next year. Go if it's not a free agent. If you don't like what's out there right now, pick up the phone and find somebody. The draft just happened a few months back. Teams drafted a lot of offensive line talent. They might be looking to shed some dollars with some veterans. Go find somebody to shore up this offensive line, because I will say this. We asked this question earlier. If the offensive line is the reason this team loses, the general manager, Chris Greer, is going to be in directly in charge of with his comments of you're worried about it more than us. Well, we are worried about it. Yeah. So if it does blow up, I hope you're worried about your job security, because you have the cap space to go and, put some assurance behind that, man. I would hate for that to be the reason. There's a lot of question marks, and all of them are around health. And I agree with Reason. They have offensive tackle pretty much solidified, in my opinion. But the interior, if Isaiah Wynn gets hurt, to me, could be an utter disaster. And, we talked about these top teams in the AFC, and that's the Chiefs, who have Chris Jones, the Ravens, who have Justin Matabuki, the Jets, who in our division, who have Quinnen Williams, the Bills have Ed Oliver right there. And you know what I mean? There's great defensive tackles that we're going to have to go through. And
Christian
if they can just
Barmore? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, Christian
Barmore is insane.
I agree.
But the fact, do not sleep on Christian Barmore.
No,
that man is good.
He's a stud.
Hell.
Well, that's
he's a freaking stud. He's way better, I think, than Ed Oliver.
Oh, he is.
Yeah.
But it cements my point. I just don't think the Patriots are contenders. But it cements my point.
He can beat up. I know, but.
Yeah, he's also 0-6 against Tua too. But I get it. No, I'm just saying
he's not 0-6.
He just got paid, did he? Did he just get paid?
He just got paid, but he was drafted in 2021.
One.
Yeah, one.
Right. So 0-6. But all good. But no, I'm
just saying.
Go get an interior guy. They're out there. You might have to pick up the phone.
Yeah, they've got good dudes in this division.
It's egregious at this point now, that we're not doing anything about it.
People talk about, they're afraid to bring in competition for Tua Tagovailoa. Greg Van Routen, what's your excuse? You're afraid to bring in competition for Eichenberg because he's not going to look as good as the guy?
Right.
Thank you.
This is the real conversation to be had. Are these guys they're protecting? And let's not forget, Creed Humphrey was on the board, and you traded up for Liam Eichenberg. Please. Okay,
Oh my God.
like,
Right. But that's the
and
only
we were
hold.
all screaming, Creed, Creed, Creed. No,
Oh,
we'll
yeah.
trade up for Liam because he went to Notre Dame. Well, I don't know who watched
Yeah.
the tape, but he ain't Quentin Nelson, so I don't know why you traded up for him. You know what I
No.
mean?
But that is
So-
the
And I
only
don't-
concern I have right now is the interior offensive line. Like, I mean, not to say our thing is perfect by any
Yeah.
means, but that is my
I
only
agree.
concern.
That's the last thing. I think we all agreed after the Calais Campbell deal happened. The last two spots to shore up to say we might have one of the most complete teams of all of our lifetime here,
Yeah.
which is like, you know, since 80s, at least the 80s for all of us, right? You know, is backup left guard and backup center, and we're pretty much done. Shout out to Michelle Migliardi. She's been here since day one. I started this
What up,
channel. She's seen the evolution.
Hi, Michelle.
And she says, great show tonight. She's also a Patreon. She's a channel member. She's been supporting me for years. Love you,
I'm gonna follow
Michelle. Thank you
Michelle.
for
Where is
continuing to
she?
support. And if you're on Twitter, Michelle, drop your
Yeah, what's her thing?
drop your Twitter account in the chat so the ladies can follow you. All right.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I already follow you, but drop it in the chat anyways. All right. So guys, please do us a favor. There's over 1,300 of you right now watching. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you are
How do
new.
you find the like button?
Jen, I'll show you when I'll show you.
Yeah,
when
we'll
we
tackle
end
that.
the
We'll
stream.
tackle that offline.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Subscribe if you're new, and I'll be back this week. Remember, Wednesday, he just confirmed me, Alan Poupart, Dudley Do Wrong, Richmond Webb, Mr. Ballgame for part 1 of the content creator panel. Part 2, Thursday night, me, Kyle Krabs, Neal Driscoll, and also Omar Kelly and Alf. You all voted them on. I'm bringing it to you. Both shows will start at 8 p.m. Smash the like button. Subscribe if you're new. As
Wait,
always, fins up.
Reason. Sorry. What about Sideline T?
Oh yeah, and go
Oh,
subscribe
yeah.
to Sideline T.
I'm sorry.